All right, guys, let's do this. How's everyone doing? Welcome to this week's episode of our podcast, Is Breakfast Included? On the show today, I sit down with my good friend, Ricky Brooks. Ricky plays bass in the band, the Nixons. We all remember the Nixons, right? Ricky talked a little bit about where they came from, how they ended up in Dallas, a little bit of experience about their first major label recording, and what he learned to do and what not to do. We also talked about his band after that, Huver, who just released their EP, re-released their EP on vinyl along with some unreleased material through DFW Legacy Series, and you can find that at dfwlegacyseries.com. It was a lot of fun. We just kind of shot the shit, man. We talked about bass playing, we talked about food, we talked about, of course, breakfast. It was a great conversation. Let's check it out. Tell everyone who you are.
I'm Ricky Brooks. I play bass for the Nixons, and I played on the Huver records long time ago, and that's who I am.
Right on. You're part of the original lineup of the Nixons, correct?
Yes, I am.
Who started the band? Was it the four of you collectively, or was it the guitar player, or Zach, or?
Well, when I joined the band, it was a cover band. I joined a cover band with Jesse and Zach, and we were just playing fraternity parties. And later, they had written some songs, and we started writing more songs. We had to play like 4 sets a night. So we were playing probably 4 or 5 nights a week. So we got to play a lot in front of people.
Yeah.
And we started writing a lot more. And when we decided to just go all original, then we changed our name. We played a couple pretty good gigs. We played with the Black Crows and Social Distortion. And those were really kind of some of the formative experiences that pushed us into just doing our own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really Jesse and Zach had a cover band, and then they got Ty Robinson, who was also in the Nixons when we changed our name. Answer.
What was the name before?
Is That an Animal?
Is That an Animal? Man, it's not bad.
Yeah. I know. It's a good name.
When did you guys make? I tell you what, man. I came up in the Dallas scene. You guys were always one of my favorite bands, but you guys just kind of appeared, or did you kind of cut your teeth and then build your following in Dallas? All I knew is one day you guys were there and you were drawing crowds and you were playing some badass, really cool music for a local band. But you weren't local, but everyone in Dallas considers you guys a Dallas band.
Right. Well, like I was saying, for a couple of years, me and Jesse and Zach and Ty, we got to play a lot of, parties and bars. We had a lot of experience, and we had, compiled quite a bit of music. And we really, really, we would go see other Oklahoma local bands like the Flaming Lips and the Chainsaw Kittens. And we thought, man, that is like such a cool thing to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And we really want to be a part of it, but we kind of couldn't because we were so stigmatized as a cover band. And, but we could go to Dallas and be, new. And we had, we would kind of exchange music with bands. Like no one knew who the Toadies were. They had like a cassette, and that was about it. But Todd worked at Sound Warehouse. I worked at Sound Warehouse, and Jesse had kind of reached out to him. Somehow, we kind of got to know each other just a little bit. We decided to go down. We're going to drive all the way down to Fort Worth and play at the Student Union. And there were probably like 8 people there, the janitor included. So we played there with the Toadies. Man, they were great. They were great then.
Yeah.
And there was no one there, but we kind of started to try to develop relationships with bands from Dallas. We would have them come back up to Oklahoma, where we drew pretty well. And then hopefully they would let us play with them down there in Dallas. But the real way that we got into Trees was they would have, like on Tuesdays, sometimes they would have like 4 bands that suck for $1. And sometimes they would have like Van Halen night or Kiss night or Black Sabbath night. We played all 3 of those. I mean, for no money, but just to play in front of a bartender that worked at Trees. We were like so into, we're at Trees, man. There's no one here, but fuck, we're going to give it all we got. So,
I mean, that's the way to do it.
That's how we did it. That is exactly, that's exactly, we would bring fireworks. We would catch the stage on fire. We might not be good, but we'll be remembered. We got kicked out of a bunch of places. We became we'd show up at places and there would be a hook and ladder team there. Because when we were in Arkansas, we would pick up fireworks. And we would bring them with us, and we couldn't afford like pyrotechnics. We would just set them off like right there on the stage. We would light the floor on fire. We would light our amps on fire. Whatever we had to do to make people look at us.
Once you guys started building your following in the DFW area, what was that like for you guys? Not being a local band, but seeing that, man, people are coming out to see us, and a lot of people are coming out to see us.
It was incredibly exciting because, I was in band. I was kind of a nerdy kid. I was in band, but I loved, Black Sabbath and heavy rock bands, and I kind of wanted to do that. And it was just, cool to be sort of a cool guy.
Yeah.
These people think I'm a cool guy and have no idea. No idea what a nerd I really am.
It's like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it was just super, super exciting to pull into a place and there would be people there.
Yeah.
That was just the weirdest thing. People standing in line. Yeah.
Wearing your shirts.
Having you sign stuff.
Yeah.
It's still weird to me.
It's funny that you say that, you were cool because if people knew that how much of a nerd, because you had this intimidating presence, with the dreads and, the bass slung low, to the point where I ran into you on the streets one night, right over off Malcolm X. You were walking with someone and I was walking with someone, and I stopped and I'm like, "Oh, you play in the Nixons?" And you were like, "And you were really nice." And I walked off and I go, "I thought he'd be a lot scarier."
Right. Yeah. I probably had some bad role models. I thought it might be, I was bullied and I thought it would be cool to act like a bully or act scary. But I was very misguided in my 20s.
Right on. Well, I mean, you had this really, everyone knew the band, but everyone knew that was you on bass. You made it known. When you guys got your deal with MCA and you recorded your album, I think it was like 3 or 4 songs off of the independent release. What was it like having the machine behind you to where you could take your time and get those songs the way you wanted?
Well, it was frustrating, to be honest. I think I was wrong back then. Jesse thought we should just re-release Halo on a major label and then move on from there and make the next record.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wrong and he was right, because Halo, honestly, because we did it so quickly, time to we didn't really have time to screw it up. And, Kerry Crafton really did a good job of capturing a little bit better what we were about at the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like Falma, although it has really good material for us and for our ability, I think it was overanalyzed and it, yeah, I mean, we're in a way we're a little bit like Cheap Trick, to where the real magic of Cheap Trick is like in their live thing.
Yeah.
And their studio records are all just kind of, well, yeah, that's what I really think.
Yeah. That's cool. You guys were an amazing live band. And like you and I were talking, like that's where I'm the same way as you. Like back when LimeWire was a thing, I would always look for the live recordings of all the shit I wanted, and because the studio, you have time to clean it up. You have, like you said, you have time to screw it up,
Right.
Like, let's add a sitar on this one.
It also, I know. Let's put an 8-string bass or a 12-string bass, or let's put, some kind of, this needs piano. It slows down the creative process too. It prevents you from moving on, forging ahead, But I was wrong. I thought we should be making Super Unknown and we should be, perfecting this. And I could tell while we were doing it, this is like, we're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But it's great for what it is. People love it. And I will never tell them that they're fools for liking anything, no matter what it is. If you get joy from it, I'm happy. Yeah. Real happy. But yeah.
And I mean, you can answer this if you don't want, if you want, and if you don't want, we can move on. Why'd you leave the band?
I didn't. Well, I did.
Or you asked to leave?
I wasn't asked. I was fired. They fired me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And, in their defense, I think it might have been the right thing for them, but it didn't turn out as good as it should have for them. I was pretty unhappy. After, when we were just a unsigned band touring and playing small places and, building things in the trees, Dallas, Texas, region, I was real happy. But when we got signed and there's all this money on top of everything, and it's just a lot of stuff that I didn't care about.
Yeah,
business. I'm like terrible about like caring about business. I'm the weird guy that almost cares about nothing except the music.
Yeah.
And it was an unhappy time, and I'm sure I wasn't, plus, anyway, they fired me. And then they asked me to come back. Jesse and John asked me to come back a couple of years later, and it didn't work out. Just wasn't going to work out.
Yeah. Well, it's what you say is true. Like somebody who just wants to play and just wants to. I mean, the feeling of playing live is unlike anything else, especially to a lot of people. Even if you just like playing to a few people is great. Then when you start getting business, that changes. I'm not going to say it brings out the worst in everyone, but it puts a lot of weight on the shoulders. And if you're in a band, if it's a solo act, then it puts all the weight on that person's shoulders. But if you're in a band, it puts the weight on 4 people's shoulders or 5, and you all have to agree on something.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, you're right. There's definitely more to argue about. I loved playing small places, where man, it sounds better. I will not go see a band in a place that's 1,500 or even 1,000 or
Yeah.
more. I go see a lot of bands. I love going to live shows, and 90% of them are in places that are less than 400 capacity.
And where are
They
you at
sound
now?
better. I'm in northern Utah. I'm right up. I'm in the mountains.
Uh-huh.
My yard and everything. My house is covered with snow. I live in the mountains, man.
Are there
Right up on
venues in that area? What's your proximity to Salt Lake City?
It's about 70 miles from me.
Okay.
So when I go to a show, I get off work, I drive to Salt Lake. I go to the venue, I see the show, I come back, and I go back to work at 5 a.m. I really love live music in small places where it's super loud. It just sounds so good. You're right in front of them. Playing big places like Madison Square Garden, it's cool, but it's just not the same. Everyone's so far away.
Yeah.
You're so small. You're tiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the hopping up and down in the world, it's not going to impress anybody. Nobody can tell. They can't see your effort the same way. It's just not as satisfying. So,
when I was out with Death from Above, we did this Canadian tour, and it was places like Thunder Bay, just the most oddball venues. And we pulled into town. I can't remember what city it was. It was a small town, but we pulled up and the venue had closed down. And no one told the band, no one told their booking agent that this venue had shut down. So we were just sitting there, and all these kids that had shown up told them, well, there's a bar around the corner, and if we can get them to let you play. And Jesse and Seb were like, yeah. So the tour manager walked over there with them. They said, yeah, they can play. And it's like that meme, like, that's a tight stage and it's a little tiny stage in the corner. It's basically,
yep.
That's what it was. They played. They blew the power 3 times that night. But, man, every kid in that house was just nuts,
Right. Those are the best.
Yeah.
Those are the best.
It was a lot of fun. And, they played a lot of small venues like that too. So I hear what you're saying, man. The small venues are the best.
Yeah. You can see the sweat. You can smell them. I mean, it's just amazing. You can hear what their amp really sounds like. I mean, it's just cool.
Yeah.
So.
Let's talk about Huver, man. You mentioned to me through text that the Huver EP is getting re-released on vinyl.
Certainly is. It's an amazing thing to have happen.
Yeah, it is. I was just listening to it earlier today before I called you, just to kind of refresh myself with it, and you could tell who's in the band. But your singer, Garen, had a different approach, different melodies, a whole different style, which, I mean, it was really cool. What happened with Huver, man? It was basically the band with a different singer.
It was completely different. I mean, the whole dynamic was very different. What happened was, I told you that, Jesse and John, they were on tour with the Nixons. They had this tour with Seven Dust, and I guess they were having like a hard. It was more difficult to. Well, it's obviously difficult to play with Seven Dust because they're good. They're just a good band.
Yeah.
But it used to be hard to play with the Nixons. So they met with me, tried to get me to come back, and it wasn't going to happen. So those two guys, Jesse and John, left the Nixons. They quit to start another band with me, which is like crazy flattering. And maybe misguided, but it really means like a lot to me that they thought that much at least at the time.
Yeah.
They thought
Was
that
it the
much. They
chemistry?
thought that much of me. No, man. They thought that I was. They thought I knew a thing or two about music. I guess I don't know. They thought I was cool. Like, what? Are you kidding? So they were like, we're leaving the Nixons. It's not going to be cool staying there. We can start a band with you. And I had tried to manage a band called Owl, and Garen was in Owl.
Uh-huh.
When I got fired from the Nixons, I joined Owl for a short while. And Garen, I talked to him. I was like, "Hey, do you want to start a band with me and the Nixons?" It was like, "Yeah, okay." So we worked our butts off for about 2 years, writing, creating a sound that was completely different from the Nixons. There's nothing folksy about Huver. And the architect of the sound really was Garen. He tuned his guitar D-A-D-D-D.
Mm-hmm.
My bass only had 2 strings on it, low D, high D. And he could play drums, and he could come up with these like really interesting drum parts. And he would like come in and he would like show John. John would take the basic idea and kind of do it like a real drummer would do it. But all of our guitars were strung like that, so there are no scales in any of the solos. If you listen to the solos, they're all like, slide or just weird noise.
Uh-huh. It's a lot of textures on that album.
Everything is real layered, and it still didn't really come out like we envisioned it. But we were in a direction that could have been amazing, would have been amazing, and I really loved what we were doing. Really loved what we were doing. They just sent me the test vinyl pressing.
Uh-huh.
And I put it on, and I hadn't listened to it in a really long time, and I was like, man, this is really pretty good. And that's a lot for me to say about anything that I've ever done.
Yeah. And who's reissuing that? Is it North Texas Vinyl or?
It's Travis Hill.
Mm-hmm.
It's his deal. It's the DFW Legacy.
Oh, okay.
Series.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? That's what I meant to say. But like NTX Vinyl carries a lot of that DFW Legacy stuff. Must be pretty flattering, man, that they're doing that, because that says that you were one of the crowd.
Yeah, somebody thought we were cool. I mean, for a moment, man, it was really weird, because Huver actually started getting played on the radio in Dallas. Mm-hmm. We were nobody. We were nothing. We were like less than nothing. And we started Lower, started getting played on the radio in Dallas. And one day we drove down there to do a gig, and there's a line outside. That was like one of the last Dallas gigs we ever played. Probably was the last Dallas gig we played. But we were like on our way.
Yeah.
Matt Penfield called us the best unsigned band in America. It was like, we had a cool sound.
It was. It still is. I mean, not kissing your ass. Like, just listening to it today, I was thinking like, God damn, this could be released today, and it still sounds that good.
There's a lot of competition today.
Yeah.
There's great music out there, but thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, the sound is really relevant, but thanks. That's very kind of you.
And so why did Huver end?
I'll get to that in a second, but I have to tell you this release, because we were talking about it.
Uh-huh.
It also has some demos on it that are actually more developed than the songs that were on the EP. And it's really, really, I mean, the demos are awesome.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I had to throw that in there.
Okay.
The EP is rather short, but the full length record is going to be like full length because it's got like stuff on it that was never released. But anyway, to your question, what happened to Huver? You know, Garen, he was the creative leader in that band, but he was also a father and a husband.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2 kids. He didn't have a lot of money. He was working 2 jobs already. And he was trying to provide for his family. He was kind of one of those guys that are like doing band stuff. In some ways, man, you've either got enough financial support from somewhere,
Yeah,
or you're not going to make it, or you got to make it fast.
yeah.
And he was kind of like, we need to make it fast. When am I going to get a signing bonus? Because I gotta take care of my kids.
Yeah.
So he's really, he went off to Colorado, to sell cars, and he still does that. And I still, I've gone down there to go to shows with him. I'm still like close friends with Garen.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
So you're in Utah. What are you doing these days? Other than, I mean, we'll get to the Nixons reunion, but what are you doing these days? How do you spend your time these days?
Well, I work for a web hosting company. I wake up at 5 a.m. and I just do normal, everyday dude work from home. But I ski a lot, I do a lot of motorcycle traveling in the summer, spring. Rode my motorcycle to the bottom of South America. That took about a year. Been to Alaska a bunch of times. I like to sleep outside. Really, really outdoorsy.
Oh,
I
right
hike
on.
a lot.
Have you always been like that?
I've always wanted to be like that. But now I am. I guess so. I mean, especially after the Nixons, I fell in love with motorcycles.
Uh-huh.
Read a few books, and I started building my own motorcycles. Not my own. I mean, I built old vintage Triumphs, Nortons, BSAs, and BMWs, and then I started traveling further and further and further. And I love sleeping outside, and that's kind of my thing. Traveling on a motorcycle, not an expensive one, a cheap one.
Oh,
Cheap, yeah.
No shocks under the seat. Just
No, I've never had like a expensive BMW. I've had old BMWs that I paid like the bike I rode to the Yukon the very first time. It's an old BMW that I paid like $500 for. The bike that I rode to South America on, it was used. I paid like $3,000 for it, $3,500. Yeah. I like to tinker with things. I like to work on machines. I like to understand them, how they work. But yeah, that's really the only. That's really what I do a lot more than music. Much more a fan than a performer these days.
Are you a gearhead when it comes to your bass playing?
Playing,
or you're just your rig?
My rig. I'm very specific about my rig. Yes, I have a couple of 1978 Ampeg SVTs that everybody hates because they weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah.
But just the head alone is 100 pounds. And I've got like old SVT cabinets, couple pedals. I put, all my basses all have the same kind of pickups in them. I wire them myself and all that stuff. I'm a little bit geary that way, I suppose.
Yeah. I saw on your Facebook the bridges that you use.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I bent like I was playing a gig, and there were some people there. There weren't a lot of people there. It was like we were on tour with Sponge. It wasn't like a huge crowd, but there were some people at the merch booth that had driven a really long way, and the guy had brought his kids and everything. And I think someone had flown in from Canada too. So I was like, I need to give them a good show. And my bass, I bought it used on eBay. I'm just gonna like throw it. So I threw it up on this balcony, and it goes sliding across some chairs, across the ground, and it flattened out the bridge. And there's like a tiny little guitar shop here in town. So I went up there and I was like, guys have one of these? And they were like, actually, the owner invented a bass bridge that blows away anything that you can buy. And I was pretty skeptical. And I looked at it, and he was like, just take it. Just take it and try it out. Tell me what you think. And it is freaking amazing. Like most bridges, they sit on these little pins, you know, the saddles.
Yeah.
They sit on these little pins. So all the vibration goes through, you know, it's like on these little pins. Well, this bridge has a ramp system. So from the string to the saddle to the body, it's all like one piece. They're amazing. The Foundation bass bridge. They're amazing. I have two of them now, and you want me to send you one?
Oh.
You think one of your guys want to try one out?
You know what? I'd say yes.
I'll take one off my bass and send it to you.
No, you don't have to do that. He plays Dingwall basses. Have you heard of those?
No.
They use the fan fret system. But I wish my guy just used a regular Fender P bass.
Right. Well, they fit on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, you don't have to pull one off.
All right.
I did do some research into them when you posted that, because I don't play a lot of bass. I don't, but I'm always looking at when someone says something's cool. I check it out and see if I need one.
Right. They are cool. I mean, I was going to put just a badass bridge on there, or whatever the new, I don't know, knockoff of the badass is. I was going to put one of those on there, but man, this blows it away. So I got another one and put it on one of my other basses. So yeah, they're the best, I think. Just my opinion.
Right on, man. Right on. Let's talk a little bit about the reunion. You guys got back together in 2017, I believe.
Right. I did not want to do it at all. Jesse had called me over the years every once in a while, and I would just like, I don't know, I would end up hanging up on him because that guy is like really, really hard. He will not accept no. He's very, very determined. So yeah, I mean, we had some conversations. Mostly me and Zach had to talk and make sure everything was going to be okay, and it was.
Yeah.
I had not played an instrument in 17 years. I hadn't played bass in about 17 years. I had to learn how to play again, and it was hard. It was hard.
Did the bass come up a little on you?
Man, a little bit, but now it's back down.
Yeah,
it's down there. So, but my old Thunderbird, I had a '76 Thunderbird. I broke it accidentally. I threw it a lot, but this one night it finally broke, and it's like no one's ever going to fix it. So that's when I went to the P basses, because they're definitely easier to work on.
Very easy.
Yeah, the reunion was great. We actually had to rehearse and all that stuff. And it was great to have John. I went to see Cedar one time, just because John was going to be there, and I hadn't seen him in more than a decade. We were sitting there on the bus, and he was like, "We need to do the Nixons reunion sometime." And I was like, "What? Are you kidding? What? Look, you're like huge rock star, playing arenas all the time. What do you want to go slumming with us for? It really means a lot to him. The Nixons are a big deal to John,
Yeah.
which is surprising to me. So, yeah, it's been great playing with him. He's so good. Oh my gosh. That guy is like the most professional. Like everyone is sitting in the green room before the show. They're all like, you know, talking, eating chips, whatever. John, every time, I'm not exaggerating, every time, at least, 20, 30 minutes before we go on, he's got his headphones on and his sticks out.
Yeah.
Now, this is the guy that needs it at least.
Doing triplets on the couch.
Yeah. He is the guy that is like, he needs it the least. I mean, he's in Seether. He's been behind drums almost every night for the last 25 years. And he's like taking it so seriously. And he's like a great role model.
When you say that the Nixons mean a lot to John and that, Jesse's very persistent, do you think that the Nixons mean so much to them? Do you think they were looking for some sort of closure?
Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, at first I thought that, but it just keeps going on. So maybe it wasn't that. I don't know.
Being a little older, are you guys? What's the chemistry like now as personalities?
It's less volatile.
Yeah, you guys able to talk about things?
We're able to just leave things as they are. It's you can't treat a cat like a dog. You can't be angry at a cat because it won't fetch.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to know your animal and just know, hey, that is Jesse. That's just Ricky. This is just what you get.
Yeah.
If you want a dog, get a dog.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at Zach for being a different way than you are because, well, he's a different animal. So we definitely accept each other that way much, much better than we did.
Cool. Are you having fun?
Yeah, man. Especially like the last few gigs were so fun. The Trees gig like a week ago.
Yeah.
And going back to Trees, it was amazing. And we actually, we had a pretty good show.
Yeah, I was hoping to make it down for that show, and unfortunately I couldn't. But I'm hoping maybe you guys play out here somewhere.
Yeah. Well, we were out there this summer with Everclear.
Mm-hmm.
We did a tour. We played Central Park and I don't know, a bunch of other places out there this summer. I don't know when we don't have anything on the books, any plans. I know Seether is going to be super, super busy this summer.
Uh-huh.
And I know that Travis really wanted to see a Huver reunion for this record release, but I know John's going to be gone. So if there's ever a Huver reunion, it will not be when we want it to be. It'll be some other time.
Right on, man.
Yeah. I would love to see it happen just because it gives me something else to do, just another project. I was really afraid of the whole Nixons thing, and now I just really, really want to do more stuff like that. Very satisfying.
So you're having fun playing again, right?
So much fun.
That's cool, man. There's not a lot of weight or pressure.
There's that, but it's like, the challenge is really like you got a project and it's like really, really exciting to see it come to fruition or watch it fail. I mean, not every gig we do is great. Some of them are better than others. That's, it's high risk, man.
Yeah. Well, right
rock
on,
and roll
man. Well,
type of
I was
stuff.
stoked to see you guys. I've yet to see you since you've started doing these reunion shows. Like I'm always gone, and then I moved out here to the East Coast. But
Right.
you guys were you were always one of my favorite bands. What? Let me ask you this, and I meant to ask you, where did the name the Nixons come from?
Oh, I think we did what a lot of bands do. You know, when they have to name their band, they just write down a bunch of names and they kind of, I don't know, practice saying them in front of other people and see if it feels stupid.
Yeah.
And that was just the name that it had an X in the middle of it. So that was kind of cool. But um, it was, I don't know, none of us hated it.
Yeah.
It's not political at all. It was a word that everyone knew how to pronounce. It was a word everyone was familiar with.
I like the fact that it had an X in the middle of it. That was a
Yeah. Just about any time you interview any of us, that's the default like response.
yeah.
So sorry about that, but yeah, it kind of works.
Yeah. I think that's what Saxon said too. Yeah, it had an X in the middle of the name.
Yeah, that's kind of what somebody said that once and it just stuck. So that's the response we always give.
All right, on, man. Like I said, dude, you guys were always one of my, and that story I told you earlier, you weren't a dick to me or anything. You were actually really nice, and we talked for a second.
I'm
Like
glad.
I was a
I'm
club
glad.
rat. I used to go see band after band, and I never, I tried to never miss one of your shows. So I remember walking off and telling my friend, like, yeah, I thought he'd be a lot meaner because of that presence you had, but it was cool, man.
Yeah.
And I tell you this, when you guys started doing these reunion shows, and I finally, I looked you up on social media and sent you a friend request. You immediately accepted it. And I thought, dude, I am the coolest guy ever. Because, I mean, like I said, man, coming up in that scene, you guys were a big deal to me. And you in particular, me, being a bass player, guitar player, were a big deal to me. So thanks. Thanks for accepting the friend request.
Oh, yeah. You were making me blush. It's no big deal, man. I've always loved our fans and tried to show appreciation for people that will even take the time to go stand in front of me for, a half an hour, hour and a half, whatever it is. I've always loved when we get to a venue, walking out in the line and talking to people.
Uh-huh.
I've always tried to watch every opening band. So it's not terribly surprising that it was nice, but it always makes me a little bit nervous about some of the things I might have done back then.
So do you apologize when someone said, "Hey, I met you back then"? You're like, "Hey, I'm sorry."
Right. Oh man, me from the past. What a jerk.
No, it wasn't like
that. I guess not. I'm glad to hear that.
Man, where if you want anyone to find you on social media, where can they find you? Are you on Instagram or I know you're on Facebook, but
I really just do Facebook.
Okay.
And not even all that much. And it's definitely not about end promotion. I hardly will ever talk about the Nixons or band stuff. I talk about other bands a lot.
What bands are really on your radar right now?
Oh my God, how much time do you have?
It's a whole nother episode.
Because man, that is what I do. Like I quit listening to rock bands for about 18 years. I totally quit listening to rock bands, and when I started doing the rock band thing again, I have gone to so many shows, and I really love a lot of bands from Belgium, like Brutus from Belgium, Amon Ra from Belgium. These are all kind of heavy, artsy kind of bands. Yeah. They're heavy in a way that's projects a positive worldview rather than certain bands that I really don't want to mention, but don't like the worldview. It's not their music that I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like the bully. I don't like the bully attitude.
Uh-huh.
You know. But so yeah, that's a couple that I like in Belgium. Here in the States, you know, I really love Red Fang. I really love Russian Circles.
Two bands that are amazing.
Oh, you know, man, Russian Circles. I've gotten on a plane to see them. I got on a plane to see Brutus. You know, Deaf Heaven. I didn't like them at first. I've seen them like 5 times now. I've learned so much about, you know, allowing yourself to enjoy things that maybe at first you might not like. Trying to discover what it is that the artist is really trying to, you know, why did they do this? Why are they in a van doing this?
Yeah.
There's a purpose. Holy Fawn is a band that's like, you know, they're real young. They're from Arizona. And I just think their records are amazing. I just think, you know, there's so much good music out there. I could go on forever.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with a good friend of mine, and I mentioned to her, I was like, sometimes I feel sorry for people who only listen to what they hear on the radio.
Oh,
you know?
I never listen to the radio, but
you know, because there's so much cool stuff out there, and you discover something, and then you go back to like, oh, what did they listen to? And it's some band that from 15 years ago that you never heard of, that just totally was off your radar, and they're amazing. I love that. I go down these rabbit holes on YouTube all the time.
Me too. That, you know, I look forward to the weekends because that's where I just disappear into, you know, some band like King Buffalo, listen to everything they've got, you know. Just like disappear into it, and I won't leave the house all night, stay up all night, discovering, just really deep listening.
Yeah.
Deep listening, like you did when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And you got, you know, The Dark Side of the Moon for the first time. And it just, those songs were about you. You know, you were able to like put yourself in it, and in a very David Lynch kind of way. They really are about whatever you make them about.
Exactly.
And artists really shouldn't, you know, explain too much about what their music or what their art is, because once they explain it, it could be nothing but that.
Yeah.
If you tell somebody this song is about blah, 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 then it can only be about that. It can't be about you anymore.
Exactly.
So I just love that. I don't like look at their pictures. I try to listen, you know, just to the music itself. I don't want to be biased by whether they're overweight or, oh, this guy is actually a girl, or maybe, yeah. Anyway, long answer.
It's the perfect answer.
I told you I was going to talk your ear off. You shouldn't have mentioned like rock bands, because man, I will go on.
Years ago, I saw Red Fang at a place in Dallas. Oh, not Lee Harvey's. It was over. If you're familiar with Dallas, is over on the south side by over near Lamar. I can't remember.
Man, they were my savior, really, because the band had decided to do this reunion. I didn't know what I was going to do, you know. I'm not cool. I'm old, you know. What am I going to do? What do old people do now? So I started, while I was at work, I started setting up the other computer and always having music playing. So I was listening to probably at least 2 records a day of bands that I'd never heard of. And there was a lot, because I hadn't listened to rock bands in 17 years.
Yeah.
Mastodon was new to me. But I was listening to a festival, and this band came on. My back was turned the other direction. Band comes on, they start playing, and you know, I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, this is really cool. Next song, this is really cool. What is this? Because these guys are killing it. And I turned around, and there was these guys that look like me, older guys that they look like roadies, and they were just fucking killing it. And the songs were amazing, and like I was just like, this is, I can be that. maybe I can be that. And look, the audience loves them. They don't care.
No,
these guys don't look like models or anything.
Yeah.
They're just fucking cool. And the most beautiful thing was they're so self-accepting. You know, someone's ability to accept themselves is one of the most beautiful things in the world. So I got on a plane. I don't have a lot of money or anything. I booked a flight to see them in Lincoln, Nebraska. I flew out there. I got there way, way too early, hung out all day long, go to the show, I watch them, and then I went back to the airport, slept at the airport, flew home. But I've seen them like 4 or 5 times now.
That's awesome, man.
But they were like my Megan Trainor. They were like, it's okay to be you. I'm being very revealing about my insecurity.
Man, I love that. I love that. They're my Megan Trainor.
Yeah, they were. They were like, it's okay. It's okay. You could just love yourself, which was like exactly what I needed to hear.
Right on, man.
Beautiful.
That's great.
Beautiful. Red thing, man.
That's a great way to end this.
Okay.
Man, that was such a, we got into this little, conversation. I even hate to ask you the next question, but I have to. If we were having breakfast, what would you have? Since the podcast is called Is Breakfast Included?
Oh, easy. Well, it depends on where I am. But if it's in Texas, which by the way has some of the best food in the world, huevos rancheros and coffee. Huevos rancheros.
Well, you're out there you're 70 miles from the Red Iguana, right?
Yeah, that place is pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's not Texas.
Right on.
I was just in Texas. Man, the food down there is amazing.
It is. People here don't believe me, but and there's good food here too, but
oh, it's great in New York.
Yeah. But I'm never that guy that's like, "Oh, it's not Texas." I just accept it.
Right. Well, you're in New York. You're not in Logan, Utah, where everything is. Yeah, everything is very homely. The food is homely, and yeah, it's not amazing. Not enough immigrants here. Mm. Got to have a strong immigrant class. Have any like great food and culture.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, Ricky, I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
I know you're, anyway, I appreciate your time.
Oh, man, it's such a pleasure and such an honor.
Oh,
really.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you guys, man. Hopefully you make it out this way, or hopefully the next time you do anything, your shows, I can make it out. I'd be willing to jump on a plane. I'm not home a lot, and so that's what happens with me. Like, anytime
that's right.
Everything's happened, and it all happens on the weekend that I fly somewhere. Well, cool, man.
That's amazing.
If we come through SLC, I'll reach out. You'll have to come out and hang out.
Please do, man. That would be so cool. I mean, really, it was really awesome to meet you.
You too, man. I'm sure we'll meet in person real soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Good talking to you, Ricky.
Take care. Good night.
Ricky Brooks, the Nixons. Again, you can find the Huver vinyl at DFWLegacySeries.com. Check it out. Also, check out while you're on your computer or your phone, check out our merch store, isbreakfast.bigcartel.com. I don't know. Maybe buy yourself a shirt or buy someone a shirt and send it to them. And when they get it in the mail, they're like, what the fuck is this? But they're going to put it on because they're nice shirts, good quality, and really cool artwork done by Mark Merchant. All right, guys, I'm done. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week.